Greetings, my friends. Today is a very special day. If you've listened to the Marketing Companion for a while, you'll know that the structure of this show is that we have six rotating co hosts. And it's a system that's worked out really well for me because I've got a good, friendly relationship with the host. We've always got a good chemistry, we've always got a lot to talk about. And we have a new host today. Our friend Keith Jennings, who I think was the longest host maybe on the show, decided to take a sabbatical. But that gives me an opportunity to bring in another brainiac. And certainly we've done that today with Andy Crestodina. And if you go to, if you do a search on the web and look up digital marketing guru, you will see Andy's shining face. He is someone he's number one in my book. He really is, both as just as a good man and a human being, as a professional. Uh, his book, Content Chemistry, I think is the best book on content marketing out there, and I've said that many times. He has a new edition of the book out. Highly recommend it. And so, Andy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for that introduction, Mark. I will do my best to live up to that. Honored to be here. Always great to spend even a little bit of time with you.
And we've been friends for a long time. And
Hmm.
I'm embarrassed to say this, but I didn't know your major in college was Mandarin.
It never comes up. No one ever
It wouldn't.
asks.
It really wouldn't.
No, no, it's never, it's not, it's an anecdote mostly. It's not relevant to much of anything that you and I are doing day to
Yeah,
day.
not anymore. Well, that's the way it usually turns out. So we've got a couple topics lined up today. We're gonna talk about the role of AI in SEO. We're gonna talk about LinkedIn newsletters. We don't totally agree on that subject, but I have a feeling I'm probably going to agree with you by the time we're finished. And before I get immersed in the conversation and forget what I'm doing, I want to remind you that our show is brought to you by Brevo. Now, we've talked about Brevo before. It's so easy to use. It's a one-stop shop for your CRM, for your email marketing. But one of the things I haven't mentioned in a long time, they have 500,000 customers in 180 countries, including Louis Vuitton, Carrefour, eBay, Michelin. I mean, these are big companies, right? And you, as a small business or a medium business, you have access to the same technology. It's crazy. It's easy to use. It's very cost efficient. So try out Brevo. Brevo. Go to www.brevo.com/marketing companion. You could try it for free. And if you decide to sign up, use Companion in the promo code to get 50% off your first 3 months. So, Andy, what I love to do whenever we toss around ideas for the show, I'll say, "Hey, what's
Mm.
burning in your heart?" And you came back pretty quickly. And you said, "Well, this is what everybody's talking about: the role of AI in SEO." So, boy, we see it everywhere, don't we? Um,
Mhm.
in traditional, uh, Google search, and also, we see more and more people turning to something like ChatGPT, or even for me, it might be Perplexity
Mhm.
to do search. So, what's the state of the art with AI and search for you?
It's a big topic. These AI and search are on a collision course, and you're watching the collision and disruption happen in slow motion every day.
Wow.
There are massive user behavior changes happening continuously as we speak. But I think that it's useful to separate this into several separate topics because it's not one thing. SEOs are asking, how can I use AI to get better performance through traditional search, click through, classic search results? Uh, Google is looking to use AI to stay relevant and stay in the game.
Yep.
The new entrants you just mentioned, ChatGPT and Perplexity, I think are the big ones, but there's others.
Yeah.
Google's own Gemini, of course, Microsoft's Copilot, uh, Claude itself. These are challenges to traditional search. And then Google's adaptation of putting AI's overviews at the top of search results is having a big impact on organic website traffic to businesses everywhere.
Hmm.
And that's probably of all the topics, maybe uh, the one that's most directly relevant to us as marketers. So I find this really interesting. I'm watching it. There's lots of research. There's new research last week, new research this morning. But yeah, that what is happening to organic traffic thanks to Google's AI overviews? That is the most immediate of all the conversations, I believe.
So let's go back. I want to make sure I'm clear on one statement you made because you said there's also been a lot of change in consumer behavior. Is
Hmm.
that moving to the AI for search or something else?
Really, Google is information retrieval, and it's an advertising company. So when you're looking for an answer, you get a lot of noise.
Yeah.
You get ads, and the things that it retrieves are sometimes good, sometimes not. AI is generating language and summarizing the internet, and everyday people realize, hey, if I just want an answer, I
Yeah.
can just ask AI, and it actually does a really good job of providing an answer. It
Hmm.
can tell you things that really, for which no article has ever been written. It can synthesize information. It can, create wild metaphors and interesting, but just as a way to get an answer, not retrieve information, but to satisfy an information need. It's incredible. It's really, and it's fast. It's lightweight. It's more private. You're not going to get retargeted for yours. You know,
Yeah.
uh, uh, it's so I think that the consumer behavior is changing, and that more and more people tap on an AI app, rather than open up a browser or use Google's app or, um, you know, uh, browser plus search engine plus website, a bit clunky in this era as we're finding.
Now, I don't know if you have seen more recent research than this. You mentioned that you saw even something today, but an article you sent me showed that 63% of websites have received traffic from AI. Out of curiosity, I looked at my statistics today and dug, and it might be there, but it wasn't anything obvious. It was way down there if it was there at all. So I mean what does that really mean? 63%.
Hmm.
I mean, on the surface, it doesn't seem like that might be that much because it could be just one reference or something.
Exactly. That study, it's very dubious because,
Yeah.
I
So you
mean,
sent me a dubious study. Well, we're off to a good
well,
start.
well, in 6 months you'll look at it and it'll be like 99%. And you'll say, okay, there's a trend.
Yeah,
It's, it, almost every website I see has one visit from a smart TV. Have you ever looked at that? Look at device category in Google Analytics. It's
yeah,
like smart TV. Most of us have a single visit or two from
yeah.
anyway. No, but this was 2 years ago. There were zero visits from AI. Today, most websites have at least one. Uh, most websites have increasing traffic from AI. Most the traffic that we're getting so far is very low compared to even a single. You probably get more traffic from a single day of search than you do from a month of AI. I mean, a lot of
Oh
these
yeah,
sites, it's just like 100 visits maybe. But also, it is underreported because traffic from apps, if you go to Perplexity and tap a link, you land on a page, that you're a
yeah,
direct traffic visitor. You can't really attribute these things accurately.
yeah.
Traffic from apps is not a referrer, so analytics will never show you or can deduce that that was from an AI. Uh, but it's definitely going to be an important traffic source in the future. I think it's unlikely it won't be. Also, the study I did see this morning said that traffic that comes from AI to websites is those visits are more engaged. Those visitors are spending more time
Mhm.
and looking more closely.
Well, I think the difference that I'm seeing is I'm not getting traffic, I'm getting customers.
Hmm.
I mean, so people, you know, whenever people hire me to do something, I'll say, well, how did you find me? And, one lady said, well, I did a search for top 10 digital marketers. And I'm sure, you weren't available. So they kept going down the list till they came to me and they came to my, website, and she hired me, and someone hired
Hmm.
me last week because they found me. So, that, and I don't know how many more, could be resulting. So there is that attribution issue where people are getting, an answer instead of, you
Hmm.
know, 50 links, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, but I mean, look, I want to be perfectly frank with you. Am I one of the top 10 digital marketers in the world? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But I'm known. I've been creating content for 15 years, right? And it's sort of the same strategy for SEO. Uh,
It
it's
is.
gonna be the same strategy that's gonna help you win um,
Yeah.
AI search. It's our content
Exactly.
is the glue that holds AI together. And if you're pumping out the good quality content, just like SEO,
Hmm.
you're gonna be rewarded.
Have a big digital footprint, appear in many places where your brand appears nearby a credential or a keyword. Uh, AI, another reason why people will prefer AI and why people are using it to make buying decisions is because you can sort of enter more than one parameter. I saw a presentation. This was Will Reynolds saying, he went to Google and tried to find an SUV with a third row for less than $60,000 with a certain gas mileage. That's a that's not an easy thing if you to find in
Yeah.
Google or plan a trip, a place that has
Yeah.
healthy food and good for kids and is not more than 20 minutes from an airport. Like no, Google's
Yeah.
terrible for these multi-parameter decision-making use cases. AI is
Yeah.
great for those things.
Yeah. Well, you're a lot closer to this than I am, but I would predict um, that there's got to be AI search specialist agencies popping up.
Hmm.
Am I right?
I haven't seen it yet, partly because,
Okay.
I'm sure it's happening in
Yeah.
conversation. But one strange thing, Mark, this is a weird time because what is that service called?
Yeah.
AI optimization? AI, chatbot recommendation optimization? Like
Mm,
what are they? Generative experience optimization, GEO.
yeah.
There's not even. This is amazing to have this conversation today because we are literally in front of an entire new industry and category, such that it doesn't even have a name.
Mm, mm. You know, I just remembered something that I was told. I would say maybe 10 years ago. I got to go to IBM's headquarters, and this is when Watson was a big deal.
Oh,
What happened to Watson? I don't know. They're popping up on TV ads every once in a while, but um,
mm,
they're certainly not one of the pioneer models anybody's talking about anymore. So I got to talk to some of the engineers who actually designed Watson. So, and like I said, this is like 10 years ago. This is absolutely amazing. So I'm trying to think this through. What's the implication from a marketing standpoint? I said, well, what's the role of content? Content is is really what drives, SEO, and it drives Google. From a marketing standpoint, what's the role of content? She just kind of looked for a minute and she said, well, it's not really content. We think of it more as fuel.
mm,
And and maybe that's sort of a better term because it is being amalgamated. It's being chewed up and spit back
mm,
out, in new forms, usually without attribution, a lot of times.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I thought that was interesting. I think it
Yeah.
probably still holds. Yeah.
I've heard that's why Google is still, even though they're not a leader today, they still have a strong chance because they just have more of that fuel.
You mean
Google has
IBM
the
or
mo-
IBM or Google?
Google has all of YouTube.
Yeah.
Google has the most fuel. They
Why do
have
you
more
think
content.
Google isn't a leader? See, I predict Google will win this thing.
Yeah, see, lots of people predict that. And one of the reasons is they just have more data. They
Right.
can train on more. And they have, the processing power and they have, the algorithm. But I think the reason IBM probably this is speculation and mostly trend spotting and not necessarily a practical point of view, so I don't get to talk about this much, but I love the topic. Uh, OpenAI figured out that giving like the whole internet as training data turned out to be the trick to create a highly intelligent model with lots of data. I don't know that IBM really tried that. Like they didn't give it the whole common crawl. Like
Yeah.
OpenAI, it ingested like 85% of the internet.
Hmm.
So because it's so much more, because they were out in front, the answers are better. It's just a better model most against most tests. Most people report Gemini is not as good as ChatGPT. Uh, but whatever the case, I mean, uh, it's definitely not over yet. These are early days, and uh, but I'm worried. If I were at Google, I'd really be worried because even their adaptation, the AI overview, is probably reducing click-through rates to ads,
Hmm.
and that's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
What part of this is good for the click-through rates on ads? I don't
Yeah.
see much there that helps Google.
Right. Well, the thing that sort of makes me think that they could still come out on top of this thing, and again, I mean, the ad revenue is another topic, is that I'm sure you have the same experiences as me. When I go and give a talk about AI to business leaders, to marketing leaders, even to students in many cases, I still get a deer in the headlights kind of look. They're not
Mhm.
really pushing they're not pushing the edges of Chat GPT. I think one of the reasons I think why Google is going to come out on top is because they have a brand. Because
Mm,
I mean, Google means search. And I think
sure.
for most people in the world, Google still means search. And so I think it's Google's to lose. We'll see.
Hmm.
They've got a lot of money, they got a lot of engineers, and they got a strong brand name.
It's hard to bet against them.
Yeah,
It's disrupted, but should do quite well in this. I mean, they've been betting on long shots for decades.
yeah,
Uh, but for the small business owner, one of the things that I think is also encouraging just for each of us is that when I use Google Analytics to see which types of phrases have lower click-through rates today, it's mostly the information intent queries. I was working on a video about this on Friday. If you exclude visitors who land on your blog or in your content program or your insights section or whatever you call it, that traffic is badly disrupted. But if you just look at the people who land on your service pages, your homepage and your key services, uh, coming when they come from organic traffic, not
mhm,
really disrupted at all. I think there's lots of phrases where people really still do have visit website intent.
yeah,
That's not a term most people have ever, that's not a familiar term, visit
mhm,
website intent. But if you think of it that way, yeah,
yeah,
people that are really looking for help or a speaker or a service provider or a car, they want to click through. They want to read case studies. They want to find out what that company believes and who works there and when were they founded. So commercial intent key phrases in the data I'm looking at still do have strong click-through rates, and that corner of that part of the web is much less disrupted than the part, the content marketing, search
yeah.
traffic to content marketing assets.
That's a really key point. It's a really big idea. Yeah, we need to look at that carefully
Hmm.
and yeah, start looking at our analytics that way. Let's turn to our next topic because you sort of blew my mind. You said, "Oh, I just wrote this article about LinkedIn newsletters, and oh my gosh, we're converting customers on LinkedIn newsletters." And I have not been a fan. I've not been a fan of LinkedIn newsletters, and we can talk about that. But like I said, I'm sure I'm going to change my mind in the next 10 minutes. So Andy, go ahead. Let's talk about why you love LinkedIn newsletters, and then I'll tell you why I'm still skeptical.
I think we're getting some good feedback from the community here already. I will make the case. Uh, so the and it's a nice segue from the last topic. The SEO, the SEO content marketer is not at all aligned with Google's goals. If
Right.
you are a content marketer hoping to attract free traffic and clicks from search, what you want to do has nothing to do with what Google wants. Misalignment. On the other hand, If you're a content marketer who publishes content on LinkedIn and hopes to promote it there, you are perfectly aligned with big tech and with the goals of LinkedIn.
Mhm.
YouTube wants you to go viral. LinkedIn wants you to build a successful newsletter. So they promote these things for you. They're a partner. Google was never a partner to SEOs. They were
Yeah.
always cagey and kind of mysterious and, mixed signals and, mostly worried about spam.
Well,
But LinkedIn,
mercurial. You can't
right?
depend on it, right? I mean,
No.
everybody's trying to figure out the secret formulas all the time.
Yep, trying to reverse engineer it and try
Yeah.
to test the limits of spam and is this thing detectable? Worried about detectability. Crazy, right? A weird world. But LinkedIn, it's really like YouTube for the YouTuber. The LinkedIn newsletter publisher, LinkedIn will promote you, will help you, is trying to make you succeed. The difference is big. And it's a shocking change to hear myself even say these things because you and I and most of our, just many friends and leaders in marketing have said forever, don't build on rented land. Own your own audience. Build your own email. Don't build on rented land. The correction there, the adjustment would be don't build your home on rented land. You still need a website that converts
Yeah.
and, has your where you tell your stories and have your testimonial videos and your history and origin and everything.
Mhm.
But sure, build on rented land for your content program if it's profitable.
Yeah,
If you
actually,
change,
that's actually
yeah,
what I've been saying all along. I said you got to have a home room for your content.
right.
You need
Yep.
to have but then build everywhere. I
Build
mean, once
everywhere. Yep.
build everywhere. I mean, unleash the content once you've done the work. So now, so I think in this way, we sort of agree if you say, well, LinkedIn is another place to unleash your work. So,
Hmm.
I mean, I unleash my work on Substack, on Medium, on
Sure.
Twitter, anybody that'll have me, right?
Yep.
But
Syndication.
yeah, but I haven't done it on a LinkedIn newsletter, and for a couple of reasons is that number one is that you're giving them the email list. So I mean, for most businesses, certainly any business that needs that depends on content marketing. You want to build the email list. That's the best, most important asset
Sure.
for your business.
Hmm.
You own it. You can talk to these people directly. These are the people who love you. These are the people who are going to, buy from you eventually. So, like on Substack, I still have the email list. On Medium, I still have the email list. On my blog, I can still have the email list. I can publish in other places, but I still want to direct people to my blog because
Sure.
when you build the email when you build blog subscribers, you have an email list. So that's
Sure.
reason number one. Reason number two is SEO. That if your LinkedIn newsletter becomes bigger than your blog, and I think it has for you, you could correct me
Sure.
on that. What's to say you don't start getting traffic to your LinkedIn newsletter instead of your website? So I mean, there's I don't know. I mean, and then
I'll,
there's the other idea about the
uh-huh.
firewall. I mean, I've never heard about a LinkedIn newsletter going viral, right? There might be, I've had blog posts go viral, but if it's behind a firewall, are you really going to have content go viral? And so for those three reasons, I'm skeptical. So shoot holes in me, baby.
Okay, I'm ready. Let me try
Go
to
ahead. You're
some
loaded.
possible counterpoints.
All
The
right.
first thing the first thing you said was you want to build your own list and own your own traffic and direct people to your own stuff. Yes, yes, and yes. Still do all of those things.
Mm,
I do every one of those things. I didn't remove any strategies. If I ever get the chance to, I link to my own content. If I tell
sure.
people this, if you're on my LinkedIn profile and you click subscribe to blog, you land on my website. I want you to
Yeah.
sign up to that one. I'm
Okay,
not
good.
taking, yeah, I'm not,
That's good. Yeah.
this is supplemental.
Yeah.
And the LinkedIn newsletter is the same article, but LinkedIn's promoting it, building another list there. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I still am 100% invested in my own content on my own website with my own
All
email
right. Well,
list.
then we're aligned on that.
Yeah, I didn't replace anything. I didn't stop anything. The second point, really, it's like these are. if your goal is views, not visits,
Mm,
you'll get 10 times more. That's the idea. It's a brand play. It's not a demand gen play. You know, the outdoor advertising or radio or print or anything else doesn't increase website traffic. It's similar to that. It is a brand building play. And if you choose to do it, you will have a massive big tech partner that will promote it far better than you ever could. And you'll probably have 10 times the visibility. It took me 15 years to get 15,000 subscribers via email. It took me 5 years to get 250,000 subscribers via LinkedIn. I had 3 million views on LinkedIn articles last year. I could never get in the era, as we just said, of declining click-through rates. In the era of declining visibility in search for content marketing, I am suddenly 10 times like 10 times at least more visible than I ever used to be because
mhm,
I made this decision to simply syndicate my content there and make it supplemental to everything else that I'm already doing. Virality, you're actually posting it on a social network. Their
mhm.
blog comments sort of died. There aren't
Yeah.
comments on company blogs anymore, but the LinkedIn engagement, LinkedIn sharing, LinkedIn comments,
Mhm.
it's act you can't post a LinkedIn newsletter without also making a social post for it. They're trying to help you promote it in social media. Virality, I don't know. I mean, it's really just on LinkedIn, which is a
Mhm.
pretty sober, rational community. It's not like a big frothy place where things go viral like on, YouTube and other networks. But
Yeah,
no, I think that
I've been described as frothy, by the way, so I'll
and your
correct you.
content froths us all, Mark, and we
It's
love you
yeah,
for
it's
it.
frothy. Yeah, it's effervescent. Yeah.
But so the whole point is if you change your thinking a little bit and from trying to get visits instead try to get views,
Yeah.
it's an excellent play that can create literally 10 times the visibility you ever would have had otherwise. Not a demand gen play mostly, but a brand play and a good one.
Yeah. Well, I think I can concur with that because I mean that's the same reason I'm on Medium or Substack or something like that, right? I mean, they promote it for me. And, I don't totally understand why someone would subscribe to me on Medium instead of my blog, but that's what they prefer. And I've got a huge audience there. So why not? So, one other nuance about this. So, I know you're familiar with this idea of content shock, where,
Mhm.
eventually when you have a new niche, when you have a new platform, it's empty and people need content. And then people start creating content and becomes more competitive. And then you've got to either put more money into making better content or promoting your content, and it gets more and more expensive. And I wrote a few years after I wrote that original article in 2014 that content shock really happens in waves. So, a couple years after I wrote that article, I was at Social Media Marketing World, and I think it was Snapchat was really hot, right? And there was this panel discussion,
Hmm.
there were people that actually said, Snapchat is the new Facebook. This is where everybody needs to be. And one of the panelists said, it's so easy to build an audience there. It's so easy to get
Hmm.
engagement there. And I just shook my head and I said, let's have the same discussion 12 months from now because content shop
Sure.
repeats. It happens in waves. Where are we on the cycle with LinkedIn newsletters? Is it saturated? Is it still a place where we can have an opportunity and have some fun? I mean, look, I mean, I honestly don't know.
Sure.
I haven't been in it like you.
Yeah. Well, I'd say that the we have turned the corner on LinkedIn newsletters. And for the first time, I'm seeing unsubscribes. I've been
Oh, wow.
confused for years. I've been like, is this just going to grow forever? No,
Yeah.
actually, my list has days when it goes down a little bit because LinkedIn is allowing us to, clean our list or allowing people to opt out. So I
Mm,
think no, the opportunity was much bigger earlier.
yeah.
Uh, but I'm going to give two reasons that it should still be considered. One is LinkedIn is ultimately a conversation
Hmm.
and as a networking tool to connect directly with people who you would like to connect with and sell to or collaborate with, they're all there. So even if the audience is smaller, it's really the quality could still be very, very high if you do it well. influencer marketing, collaborative content formats, make it like, do a show or something like we're doing today. The other thing is the effort for this is ridiculously low.
Yeah,
I
because you've
spent,
already done it.
you've already done it. Yeah. It takes me about an hour to do the one thing that creates the most visibility. Even if that created a tenth as much, I would still do it because
Hmm.
it's syndication. The editor is pretty easy. It saves drafts. You can come back to it later. Copy and paste, copy and paste. You have it, some things about it are actually much better. Like if you mention someone in an article, you can at them in the article and then they get notified. That doesn't work in any other context.
Hmm.
Um, it, you have to make the images fit because the featured image is like 1920 by 1080 or something. I don't usually have an image that size. So I'm like in Photoshop early in the morning on Thursdays. But it's really not a huge effort for anyone that's already creating content.
Yeah,
Really, everything that I'm recommending here, though, is based on sort of not making a new program, just reusing your other program. If you were to try to create a new, it's like Anne, our friend Anne Handley. We talked
mhm,
about it 2 years ago. I'm thinking about it. Maybe I'll do something different for it. Ooh, okay. I don't know what that's about. Maybe
yeah,
maybe that'll work, but that's a lot
it's
more effort.
exhausting. Yeah. Well, I would add a third reason to not just try out LinkedIn newsletters, but wherever your heart is, and that is, look, there's only one you. Don't be afraid. You have no competition. If you share your unique wisdom, your unique personality, if you have the courage to add your stories, and this is kind of goes into the new book that I wrote, Audacious, about where do we fit in this world? Where do we fit in this world full of bots? Well, you've got to double down on the human. You do, because you a bot isn't going to be able to tell your stories. A bot doesn't have your heritage, doesn't speak Mandarin like you, Andy, which will be a good story on this podcast someday. Uh, but you got to dig down deep and have the
Mm,
courage to show up, to really show up in a human way. So I would say if you can do that, don't be afraid of what everybody else is doing. Don't be afraid that that maybe the niche seems saturated. Give it a try anyway. Stick with it for a year and a half, see how it goes, and
mhm.
and you might be surprised.
Well, this brings up another topic that you and I are both passionate about, which is in the era of AI generated content. Where is the, where are we? Where are our voices? Where are our points of view and perspectives?
Mhm.
That is, of course, right. If you're publishing a LinkedIn newsletter, doing anything on any social network, you will quickly learn the power of taking a stand or having an opinion or believing in something, points of view, have a point of view.
Yeah,
And you are now safe and secure. I love what you just said. You have no competition. You're the only you. Uh, here's a In the era of AI generated content, it is the marketers that can say things from the heart, from themselves, that will be
right,
secure because AI doesn't do that well at all. There's a Jay
right.
Acunzo quote. He says, uh, AIs and humans both have LLMs as their foundations. AI has large language models. Humans have little life moments.
Mhm.
Isn't that charming?
Yeah,
Tell a story. You're
that is
automatically
that is
different.
just simply that's simply an adorable quote, Andy.
It is. It is. I love that.
I'll
Jay
probably
Kunzo.
steal it and use it as my own because that's how I roll.
I like to mention, I like I give attribution not just because of the virtue, but because of the mention.
Yeah,
It's a social strategy.
yeah. And that's why you're so much smarter than me, Andy, because you're always thinking that way. You're always networking. I mean, again, I want to, emphasize buy Andy's book. Really, it's the most complete view of content marketing and
Hmm.
SEO.
Thank you, Mark.
And because we're getting right at part of this, it's the human part of it.
It
Most
is.
SEO people don't talk about that.
Oh,
And
no.
and you do.
The worst. They're the
Yeah.
worst.
They're the worst. Yeah. But that's what makes you successful. So Andy, thank you so much. We've with our first show together is in the books, my friend, and it was painless, right? It was painless. It was just quite a joy. Thanks for being here. Thanks
Thank you
everyone
for having me.
for listening. We never take you for granted, and we will see you next time on the Marketing Companion.